Welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about Ascendance of a Bookworm, episode 18. So like always, let's just jump into it. So this episode will definitely hit you in the feels because we see in this episode, it went into a really dark place. In all 18 episodes that we have gotten so far, we have never experienced with this kind of like really dark material, because we see that the orphanage is just a bunch of unbaptized and orphan kids that are not being fed. They're really malnourished, they're starving, they're on the brink of death, to the point where Mine, once she saw this, she pretty much just fainted because of the shock of seeing the conditions that all these kids are living in, and the fact that the church is not doing anything, because the church doesn't consider any of the kids that are unbaptized individuals. They're just like property, I guess. And the fact that they're being kept in a locked dungeon, right? Because Lutz told Mine, why can't they just go out into the forest and get their own food and stuff like that? And it turns out that they're not allowed to leave the church. They're just in there locked up all day, all night, until somebody comes in and finally gives them food. And we see that, like Fran and all the retainers from Mine, they're telling her not to get involved because it would cause a lot of trouble, right? If the high priest, which is the one that created all these policies, gets a wind of this, I could see how it could harm Mine. It could turn into a really big trouble for Mine. And I guess the retainer's the one that for her. But we see that Mine, she can't help herself, right? In the first time, again, in all 18 episodes, her whole goal was to read books and just read books all day long. And the fact that when she opened up a book, she was not smiling, she was not happy, she was just really thinking about all the kids, that should tell you how much this is bothering her. And I really like that, because even though we saw earlier that she kind of accepted that there's nothing she can do right now, I was like, yo, are you serious? Our girl Mine is not going to do anything about this thing? And I'm glad that she actually went around and she became the director of the orphanage. So she's going to be taking all the kids under her wing pretty much, and it's going to put them to work to make paper so that Benno can sell it for high profits, I'm guessing. But then they'll be able to eat, they'll be able to make a living working with Mine. And I'm really glad that's the way it turned out. And we also learned a lot about the head priest, because again, I was really mad at the head priest, because I always thought he was on Mine's side. I thought kind of like, yeah, he has his ways, but at the end of the day, he really does care about the church and the people and all that stuff. And he's going to do he's going to work with Mine to fix this problem. But he pretty much shut her down. And I'm glad we learned that was all just, he was just trying to put up appearances for the other blue robe priests and retainers that are allegiance with the high priest. So we see that really the main problem with the church right now is the high priest. So I wonder, because I can't imagine, right? I can't imagine that the high priest would actually stay in power for too long, because with the orphanage and everything that's going on, and we see the head priest actually wants to change stuff in the church. He didn't grow up in the church. He grew up with his noble family, with nobility, and the fact that he joined the church should kind of tells me that he saw what was happening with the church, and he tried to join the church in order to like change it from within. And I'm guessing it's a lot harder than he looks, because he's not doing a lot to help, at least not that we know of, right? Because he hasn't done anything about the orphans or the unbaptized kids, and there has to be a reason why his hands are tied right now, right? I guess if he were to help them, he could lose like the role that he's playing right now, and eventually, I'm guessing he's playing the long run, right? I'm guessing the high priest will have to retire someday, and since he's the head priest, maybe he'll get promoted to the high priest, and then he'll be able to make all the changes that he wants, because he'll be the top power in the church. So I'm guessing that's the route they're going to take. I'm guessing Mine and the head priest are going to pretty much create an alliance between them two, and they're going to take out the high priest, because that dude's got to go, especially with the way all these kids were definitely living. And on top of that, we got to see that even Delia, right? They were hiding all this stuff, all their plans from Delia, because it appeared that she still is working for the high priest. And the fact that she came up with the food and gave it to Mine and said, I'm going to keep this a secret. So I think truly now all three retainers are going to be, they're really going to put all their trust into Mine. And on top of that, I think they're going to use Delia to their advantage. I think later on that the game is going to be where Delia is going to be feeding false information to the high priest, where he's going to make a couple bad calls, and it's probably going to change the structure of power in the church. And I can't wait for that to happen, because damn, this episode was definitely brutal with everything that happened with all those kids. I was like, damn, like that's rough. Because when that little girl came up to mine and started like, you know, pulling on her dress and mine fainted, I mean, that was just sad. So I'm glad mine is helping out all these kids. They definitely deserve it, because nobody deserves to live like that, especially with the church that's supposed to be, you know, believers of God and help out the people. But just because those kids were unbaptized, they're just pretty much locking them up in a dungeon, letting them to die. So that was definitely messed up. But this episode was definitely great. Definitely the darkest episode we've seen here on Ascendance of a Bookworm. And honestly, I can't wait for the rest of the episodes. I really am loving this anime. So like always, let me know what you thought of this episode. Go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode.